Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Danny Lichtenfeld, director of the Brattleboro Museum and Art Center, and I'm very happy and excited to be your host for tonight's conversation with John Kenn Mortensen. This event tonight is being presented in connection with the exhibition Dream Homes, which is John's first solo museum show in the United States, and it's on view here at the Brattleboro Museum in Vermont through November 2nd. In a moment, John's going to join me on screen here, and then we're going to have a conversation about his work. And when we're done, we would love to take your questions and comments, which you can submit at any time while the talk is underway by using the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. So John, why don't you come on screen now and join me as I tell everyone a little bit about you. Hey there.
Hello.
Great to see you. Thanks for being here in the middle of the night in Copenhagen.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. For those of you who may not know, John is a Danish illustrator and author and film director. In 2011, he published his first collection of Sticky Monsters, which became an international bestseller. And he has since written 2 young adult horror novels, a comic, several follow-up editions to Sticky Monsters. John has illustrated the Danish editions of Neil Gaiman's Hansel and Gretel and Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and The Witches. He's also produced concept art for DreamWorks Studio. John and his family live in Copenhagen, where it's 1 a.m. right now. Did you have some coffee around midnight?
No, I'm having a sugary drink, and I took a long nap earlier, so I'm fine. I'm
Okay,
ready.
perfect. Well, John, what I thought we would do to start tonight is just quickly share some of the images of the exhibition so that anyone tuning in here with us who has not already seen the work in person will have some visual context for what we're discussing. So let me just go ahead and
Great.
do that. Okay. All right. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody. So there are some views here of the exhibition in the gallery space. This is a real unusual gallery at the back of our museum that has all these wonderful nooks and crannies. And we always try to find work and exhibit work in this space that benefits from viewers really getting up close and personal with the work. It's a great space to show small works and detailed works because of that. And so in that sense, we felt like John's artwork was going to be a perfect fit, which it certainly has been. So you can see there's a mix of these larger framed drawings, and then there are also sticky notes on the walls under plexiglass. And then there's this over here so we are inviting visitors to the exhibit to hang out in this cozy little nook here, and we're providing art materials and yellow sticky notes for visitors to create their own sticky monsters and leave them on the gallery walls. And as you all can see, people have been loving that, and we've been getting, we keep having to take them down to make space for new ones. So we've gotten hundreds and hundreds of visitors' drawings already. And then here are some images of some of the artwork itself. There are 2 bodies of work in the exhibit. These larger drawings are from a body of work called Dream Homes, which is also the name of the exhibition itself. And we're going to talk about all of this. And then there are actual sticky monsters, which are drawings, as you saw, on actual sticky notes. And here are a few of these, much larger than life size. Well, I guess on my screen, they're much larger than life size. Depends how you're watching this. So that's to give everyone a little bit of a sense of what we're going to be talking about here. So John, before we actually get into the work itself, I'd love to talk briefly about your life as an artist and how you got to this point. Your bio that I read describes you as an illustrator, author, and film director. Can you tell us a little bit about these different creative hats that you wear and where drawing and the work that we have up in our exhibition fits into your life and career?
Yes. I think first of all, I really don't enjoy directing, so it's something I have put behind me. But I've done that many times, and uh, after a few years, I tend to get sucked in again, but hopefully no more.
Okay.
Yes, um yeah, I'm from a very small part of Denmark, like the countryside of Denmark, so kind of a Danish um hillbilly, I would probably say. And I grew up in the 80s and 90s here in Denmark. Uh, and I guess I was a weird kid. Uh,
Mm.
didn't get into trouble, but very quiet and very far away from everyone. Hard to communicate with, I think, but I had my drawings, so I kind of uh, could get away with being weird because it didn't stir up any trouble. And if somebody wanted to beat me up, I was good at drawing, so it was like something interesting to throw at them before they beat me up. Um, so I could stick to myself and just draw. And
Yeah,
yeah, drawing I think was kind of my voice. Um, so yeah,
yeah,
I've been drawing my whole life, uh, and telling stories, mostly to myself, self entertainment, or self medication through entertainment. I think.
that's a healthy, among the many different ways that people self-medicate. That sounds like a
Yeah,
pretty healthy
yeah.
option.
So that's how it started, but I've always been trying to be pulled out of it. I specifically remember being told again and again by grown-ups when I was younger that I had to face reality and live in reality and kind of
Mm,
get on board with everyone else. But I have uh, um, somehow avoided that for my whole life, which is really nice. And I think I kind of maybe grew into being a grown up at some point, but still doing the things I do. And I feel
that's
really
wonderful.
blessed and lucky, uh, and privileged by that. But I think
I
that's
can,
also like the lack of being able to take in like uh, I mean, I think I have dyslexia, and um, uh, I've been diagnosed with a lot of weird stuff throughout the 80s. It was They had different words for it back then, but also learning disabilities and stuff like that. But uh, um, I am able to learn. I found out, not
Oh,
boring stuff like math and stuff like that. so
sure,
so
sure.
yeah.
It's a, I'm sure you know at this point in your life that it's a, it's a not at all an uncommon story among artists.
No.
And lucky us when those of you who have these kinds of talents and this way of expressing yourself and communicating manage to stick with it and make it work for you rather than struggling against something that you're not as interested in and not as maybe as well suited for.
Mm.
And while you've been escaping from reality, you've created a reality of artwork and stories that are so enriching to all of us who love your work.
Oh, thank you.
I'm curious, John, was there a point when you were young when the thought occurred to you, I'm going to be an artist, or was it always, it was sort of like, it sounds more like maybe it it was inevitable, and the only question was whether you were going to manage to stick with it against the
Mm.
forces that were trying to pull you away from that.
Yeah, I was. I mean, when I grew up in the 80s, there wasn't really like any definition of the. I mean, an artist was a painter that painted like
Sure, right.
landscapes and stuff like that, and I wasn't able to do that. Also because I'm somewhat colorblind, so painting. I mean, I never really use color um, in my artwork. Yeah. No, I was trying to. I mean, like when I was, in my teens, and where they were kind of like, okay, you have to go in a direction. I was kind of like, okay, I didn't, because they kind of told me like art was out of the question, because I think I said I wanted to go to art school, and he said then you have to learn to paint. Um,
Mhm.
and I did not want to do that. I figured that I was probably gonna be homeless at some point. Um, I remember I've talked to other artists as well about this, but I mean, we have a tendency to, when we go to big cities. When I was young, I would look for places for when I grew up and left the small hillbilly town I come from, and went to the big city. I used to look for, when I was just visiting. I used to look for places to sleep when I was going to be homeless.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, but it not in a sad way. It was also
Yeah.
kind of cozy. It's like, oh, that's must be a perfect spot. Um, yeah, I went to a school when I was 16, like a boarding school.
Mhm.
We have a boarding school system in Denmark that we only that it's that Denmark is the only country that has this boarding school system where you go for this. Yeah, but we have that, and then kind of changed everything because uh, yeah, they said, yeah, but there's lots of opportunities for a design school and different art schools, and I ended up actually getting an education as a character animator, because animation was also a way to tell stories, and
Sure.
I mean, I love animation,
Yeah.
um, and cartoons, and I've done that always. It's one of the ultimate story forms, I think. So yeah, there was never a time, just to go back and try to answer your question.
Yeah.
Um, it just kind of happened, or I've just always been here. So uh, uh, I'm not really adapting, but uh, yeah,
Well,
outside
you've
world.
managed to
I
stick
mean,
with it.
I'm getting by in a way. Stuff happens, and yeah.
Yeah. Are there, when you were young and then over time and even today, are there particular artists or writers or comic books or genres, or I'm curious what have been over time im important creative inspirations or influences for you?
Oh, there's. I mean, uh, I think this will also kind of uh, both answer this question and the previous question. Like
Mhm.
the most my uh, um, I mean, we all have favorite songs every once in a while when they keep changing, but the one song that always sticks to me is Talking Heads Once in a Lifetime,
Nice. Yeah, I love
because
that song.
the lyrics was, for me when I was young, meant something, and then it's always changed, and but they still mean the world to me, those lyrics. And it is kind of like, how did I get here? And letting the days go by, and with water and everything, it's just so meaningful, and such a great song that I really really love. And then to get back to the new question, music is my
Hmm.
go-to inspirational source outside of just walking around in nature. It's my music means so much to me. It's I listened to yeah, minimum 3 hours of music every day. um
You always listen to music when you're working?
yes,
You do.
and when I walk and when I bike. So yes, but uh, also, I mean, writers. I mean, because I'm somewhat dyslexic, I didn't read. Uh, I first started reading books when I was 19,
Hmm.
uh, but I have, since I was 19. Now I'm 46. I've been reading uh, every day, and for the last 10 years, I've set aside an hour a day for just reading. Um, and yeah, Shirley Jackson and Stephen
Oh
King,
yeah.
um, some of my uh, favorites, and new ones
Well,
turn up all the
Shirley,
time.
Shirley Jackson and Stephen King are both from our part of the US here, New England. And
Yeah.
Shirley Jackson was in Vermont. I think the short story, The Lottery, I think she wrote in Vermont.
Oh, but that's also a bad thing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right, a dark take on a particular
Yeah.
yeah, Vermont civic tradition, I think called town meeting. But yeah,
Mm.
a non it's fiction. It's a
Mm.
fictional
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yes, they've been huge inspirations for me, and right now I think there's just so many amazing writers out there. It's insane. I'm loving it.
Oh, that's great. That's so impressive that you came up with a strategy or strategies to be able to indulge in reading after having so many years of that, having difficulty with that.
Yeah, but I also, I mean, when I've been drawing, I've been especially when I was young, I was telling myself these stories when I was drawing. And I was super frustrated that I couldn't get all the details in there, um, because I wanted to tell these stories. I
Right.
didn't know specifically to who, but I just felt bad that they kind of dwindled away when I've told them to myself, and there was only the drawings there. And I really, really also wanted to write. I've always wanted to write. um and I Stephen King said once that if you don't have time to read, you don't have time to write. So I've taken that to heart, and I really, really live by that rule now, because it's also a nice excuse to get to read, because then reading is also working, I guess. So
Sure.
I find that
Sure.
really, really
Right.
nice.
You're not procrastinating at all. You're
No,
doing what you need to do. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a great way to think about it. Um, let's change tracks now. And dive into let's dive into the sticky monsters, okay?
Hmm.
And talk about the sticky monsters for a moment. You've said that, or I may have read, or I may have seen an interview with you. I can't remember which, but the story is that you had some kind of boring corporate job where you had a lot of time that you needed to kill sitting at a desk, and that was the origin of monsters being drawn on sticky notes.
Yeah,
Do I have the story right? And is there more to that story?
yeah. There's yeah, but yeah, there's more to it. But yes, I mean, it was I worked in kids television. I was writing and directing and doing puppets, and doing voice acting and directing voice actors, directing animators, and it was extremely stressful. And at the same time, I had twins, uh, so I was just um yeah.
You
But
were,
so whenever I had like just 3 minutes of waiting time, I would just draw, and there was just post-it notes and pens. They're always
yeah,
there. And I didn't need to invest, like, I didn't even need to come up with an idea. I could just draw without thinking, like auto drawing, and that was just super, super de-stressing. um so that was
that's one.
kind of how it started, but there's also more to it, in the form of working in film and television. There's like, when you get an idea, then,
Mhm.
2.5 years after that idea came into your head, if you're lucky, then it's released, and you just can't recognize anything. There's been so many compromises, and you're just drained and done, and it's just a horrible feeling. But so I was kind of looking for a way to just express ideas, and also without, overworking them, like also
Yeah,
more like great punk music, just of what Nirvana did with their first albums. Just record it when it's there, and get out of the studio.
yeah.
um and I was also inspired by, when I was a kid growing up, we had these, like, in Denmark, we had, at the gas stations, there would be VHS tapes there for rental. We didn't have blockbusters and stuff like that back then. So I would take my bike and go to the gas station, and I would just look at these VHS covers. And in the 80s, they were insanely
Yes.
amazing. I mean, really, really,
Yeah.
a lot of the Roger Corman and the Hammer movies, and they were just so beautiful. And I would look at them, and I would tell myself, because I wasn't old enough to, I wasn't allowed to rent a lot of them, because you
Mm.
had to be over 15. So I would just stand there for hours, just looking at these covers, and imagining these stories. But then when I got old enough to actually watch these movies, most of them were like a humongous disappointment. Uh, And
Sure.
so I wanted to give that experience with just getting like a drip of a story, just
Yeah.
one scene, and then
Yeah.
being it up to the viewer to make up the story.
Yeah. So to be clear, when you had the opportunity to just, you had like 3 minutes to just let your hand produce whatever it was that needed to come out of your mind and body, it's these monsters that were coming out.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, I mean, that's what you were often drawing on the post-it notes is these monsters.
always monsters.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. So I have some questions about the monsters themselves.
Hmm.
As when I look at it, I think of the universe of the sticky monsters as containing a variety of different types of monsters, and there are also humans. Is there a recurring cast of characters or monster species in that universe, or are there constantly new ones cropping up every time you start drawing?
I guess there's uh, a lot of them, come back uh, for visit. Strike up a friendship with a lot of them. So some of them will come back.
Do you have names for the different monsters?
No, not really.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Not really. But the fun thing is that uh, a lot of people can relate, and especially like the the man in the big coat and the tall hat. He's just a figure that's everywhere, and people are like, I dreamt about that guy for so many times. So I find that funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, no, I don't really have names for them. I think also, I mean, for me, they kind of pop out of existence when I have drawn them, and then I give them away.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Are there some that you like more than others, or some that you find yourself, over this period of time, you're mostly creating these monsters or humans, and then it shifts over time? Like, do you have a relationship with the different monsters or humans in that way?
Yeah, I think like uh, right now I'm in. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really like furry monsters. Uh, but I also really like drawing fur. It's
Oh, okay.
really really de-stressing, and I love horns and claws. But I mean, it's
Yeah.
also from where I grew up. I mean, there's been a lot of goats and cats and dogs around me.
Okay.
So
Cool.
and pigs. I really really love pigs, and yeah, they've been a huge part in my works like some years ago, and now it's more just furry beasts with teeth and horns. Um, yeah,
I know that many people love scary things. I'm not one of those people. I don't mind things that are unsettling, but I don't like when they're evil or threatening or harmful. And to me, the sweet thing about your creepy creatures, at least in the universe of the sticky monsters and like the dream homes drawings, is that somehow they're so creepy, but they don't seem evil or threatening. And I've been thinking about that, and I think maybe it's because the humans that you include in these little stories, they never seem terrified or hurt or sad. They just seem kind of chill, like with
Mm.
these monsters around them. I'm curious how you think about the relationship between the monsters and the people in your and the humans in your drawings. And do you, like for you, do you think of these monsters as evil monsters with bad intentions?
Mm, sometimes I do, I think, but um, uh, I mean, yeah, the man with the big coat and the big hat. There's like one of the pieces at the museum is like a lot of men in tall hats coming down, and I guess you see them in Washington now and other places.
Okay,
You
sure.
also in Denmark and in Brussels and um, uh, those are the patriarchy, make it maybe.
Uh-huh.
But then again, I think that I mean, I'm a huge consumer of scary entertainment, both in I like metal music and I like horror movies and horror comics and everything. But I think it's important to I mean, fear is a really important state of mind, and if you are comfortable with your fear in a way, uh, it's more difficult uh, um, for other people, for politicians and stuff, to feed on your fear and use fear
Mm.
as a way to control you. If you know, if you get to know yourself in what you fear, if that makes any sense. So
Yeah, of course.
I think fear to uh, also one of my huge inspirations is Edward Gorey, um,
Yeah,
and Edward Gorey and also Roald Dahl. They
yeah.
kind of used fear a lot in also really comfortable way, I think, to teach people not to. It's not to be fearful, but it's more like just to get to know yourself when you are fearful.
Well, and maybe I think like Grimm's fairy tales, to be, I think many of those stories, the origins of many of those stories, and maybe on a deep evolutionary level, our attraction to scary things, like we're so scared and we're terrified, but and yet we can't look away. I think it
Mhm.
has something to do with preparing ourselves for the worst,
Mhm.
like, but in a relatively safe way.
Yeah,
Uh, it sounds maybe like that's what what you're referring to.
yeah. It's down those lines.
Yeah,
I think so. I think it's important, but I also, I mean, I was, um, I have um, I have a big sister, and I have two older cousins that's on my dad's side, and I kind of grew up with them as almost siblings as well. And I was the youngest one, and I was a boy, so it was three older girls, and um, I come from a very close family, so we spent a lot of time together. And but they would when I was around, yeah, small, like 5 years old, they would they would say, "We don't want to play with you." So I had to sit with the grown-ups while they were playing, and that was just like, I hated it. I really loathed it because it was so
mhm.
boring, and I just wanted to hang out with them, with my siblings. But and then uh, my middle cousin would come down and say, "Hey, your sister and my sister are assholes, and I don't want to hang out with them now. I want to hang out with you. So let's go hang out in my room." And we would go to a room, but then they rigged it up with strings in the closets, and puppets falling out, and they made this tape with screaming. So they would lock me in the room and turn off all
Oh,
the lights, and they would just scare the shit out of
yeah.
me. And I don't remember the first times, but then it started being, a really cool game, because
Uh-huh.
and they were trying to up it each time to get more scary, and I was like, this is not scary. And so they would, and so I've always viewed horror as a really comfortable place where I was doing something great with people that I really love. So horror entertainment is just super comfortable for me. It's a place of love and uh, relation, and yeah.
That's so fascinating that that whole realm of horror and fear is like a safe place for you.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Um, I want to make, I have a, I'd love to ask you a few questions about the other body of work in the
Hmm.
exhibits. We've talked a little bit about Sticky Monsters. I'd like to ask you a few things about the dream homes, and we
Hmm.
have quite a few questions from audience members that are coming in already. So we'll definitely, thank you everyone for your patience. We'll definitely get to those as well. So dream homes,
Hmm.
there are 6 of these astonishing drawings of so-called dream homes, meticulously detailed, filling the paper from edge to edge. Each one of them is about 17 inches or 43 centimeters square.
Hmm.
First of all, it's such a great play on words because we obviously use the term dream homes to mean fantasy homes or ideal homes, but these are very clearly a different kind of dream home, more like a nightmare home.
Hmm.
Really funny. What's the story behind this body of work, and does it actually relate to your dreams in any way?
Yeah, definitely relates a lot to my dreams.
Really?
I have a huge tendency to dream about houses,
Uh-huh.
um, and um, and also think in. I mean, houses and homes are for me such an important thing, and it's like not really being dealt with. I think in art. Um, uh, and I also view dreams and houses and homes in kind of like the same setting. It's like, uh, if you imagine you're a house and you fall asleep, you lie down, and then all the
Yeah.
stuff from the basement like rolls into the living room, and then
Uh-huh.
dreaming is kind of collecting it and putting it back in the basement, going like, oh, I remember this. This was back when I was a teenage and stuff like that. So it's kind of, every time you fall asleep, you're kind of going through the basement in your house. Um,
Right.
and yeah, and I've found also after working in film and television, where there's so many rules about uh, character arcs and storytelling methods and all that stuff, that I just wanted to, like find like, okay, what do I want to tell and how do I want to tell it? And I was just like, I just want to do like big ass drawings of houses and monsters. So that's
That's
me
what we
just
should.
really just doing what I feel like, and also uh coming up with stupid ideas, and also getting to draw like houses I see, and they're all in flat perspective.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the word for it is, but I also have a problem with depth perception,
Uh-huh.
so I
Uh-huh.
can't really draw perspective, so that it's always just a flat perspective. But I like that look. It also, one of the reasons I really love it was Edward Gorey, is because he was the first one where I saw like, okay, you don't have to draw perspective. Great, let me
Right.
let me do that then. And yeah, so dream homes is yeah, it's really just also my dream project. And
That's great.
I've been at it for a few years now, and a book is gonna come out hopefully in 26 at some point.
Okay. And we have 6 of the dream homes in our exhibition. How many are you hoping to end up with?
I'm hoping to end up with 50, and I'm at
Oh,
23 now, and I'm
oh,
doing there's 3 in progress now. So yeah,
do you work on several of them at the same time?
yes.
And can you estimate, is it like roughly when you're getting started on one, if you look at the calendar, or how far out in the calendar do you expect it will be when you finish that one?
No,
No,
it's
it varies.
also it's so floaty because yeah, that's also why I'm doing several. If I get stuck on one, um, then I'll just. I mean, it's like when I encounter a problem, I uh, I fall asleep usually. So and it's
Yeah,
like if there's a hard part to draw, then I'll
yeah,
just leave it, and then
yeah,
when I'll come back to it, it's easy. So it's like
sure.
usually when I wake up after encountering a problem, the problem is smaller. Usually, sometimes they just developed and got bigger while I was sleeping, but yeah, sometimes it works.
Yeah, sure. So 23 of them you have done already.
Hmm.
Wow. Um, that'll be an amazing book. We'll be very excited when that comes out. Can't wait for that. Um, several people have already put questions in the Q&A. I want to invite
Hmm.
everyone at this point, if you have questions or comments for John or for me for that matter, please, now would be a good time to go ahead and put them in there. And about to start digging into those, but I just want to share one more thing before we do that. John, you haven't seen this yet either, but I want to show you and everyone. So this is the museum's website, and we have a tiny little gift shop at our museum, and we have an online portion of the shop as well. And John kindly gave us permission to create a T-shirt for the exhibition. So this is how you order it if you want your very limited edition John Kenn Mortensen T-shirt. Um, I don't
Wow,
think
they
this
look nice.
I think it came out great. Thank you so much for allowing us to do it. This is on the back, and we also have with John's permission, we've created this limited edition print. So this is a reproduction of one of the Dream Home images, and it's printed in archival inks and paper, and it's a little smaller than the originals, but it's a really beautiful reproduction, and it's an edition of just 30 of those, and they're selling really well. But we still have more, so if anyone's interested. And John, before you ask, I will absolutely send you a T-shirt or as many T-shirts as you need.
Great.
Um, People
Thank
are
you.
loving those as well. So I didn't want to forget to let everyone know about those. Um, okay, I'm going to open up the Q&A here
Mhm.
and get into some audience questions. So John Art asks, Art, who's a wonderful artist himself here, right in our area, whose artwork we exhibited not long ago, asks, were you influenced as a child by creatures from traditional Danish literature?
Um, yes, I think so, but more in my later years. Also, I did a Christmas book about
Yeah.
um, traditional, mostly European Christmas monsters from folklore. But yeah, I mean, there's so many really cool folklore things from Denmark, and on Bornholm, which is a small island. They have you will still find people who believe a lot in a lot of these uh, mythic creatures.
Mhm. Mhm. That's a Danish island, Bornholm?
Yes, but
Uh-huh.
it's closer to Sweden than Denmark, actually.
Okay. Um, Great. Thank you, Art, for that question. Marianne asks, do you know the work of Maurice Sendak, especially The Night Kitchen?
Yes, I do. I'm a huge fan of Morris Sendak.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, where the wild things are, it was not a kids book that was around when I was a kid here in Denmark,
Mhm.
but later it still just resonated with my childhood, uh, and it's just so I love the free form that it's been told in the story. It's just a lot of just dancing, which is amazing. So
Yeah.
I love his work.
Yeah. I've had several people tell me that they see both Maurice Sendak and Edward Gorey in your work.
Mm. But I also
Um,
think that um, Maurice Sendak also, I would think, I don't know this, but as I see his work, I think uh, he probably also grew up weird, and being able to see like King Kong and Frankenstein,
yeah.
those kind of stories, and see the like the humans as the monsters and the monster as the um
Yes.
the
The humane one,
yeah,
the civilized one.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've always had a yeah. Misfits and monsters are um, yeah.
sure.
It's so I think he gets his feelings really well across, I think.
It sounds like Marta is familiar with the book you were referring to earlier, the Christmas book. She says in your collection, the Christmas Bestiary,
Hmm.
you've found so many great cultural characters. Was it fun researching and collecting them?
Um, I had the writer Benny Bødker, who's also one of my close friends. He was the one researching and writing about them. But the fun part was actually just having old documents from people telling about how they looked, the monsters, and then just not researching any visual evidence from like the so didn't look at anything. I just took the old way that they were described, uh,
Oh,
because
mhm.
I'm a huge fan of cryptozoology,
Oh,
um, and it's just, I mean, I remember Marco Polo describing a unicorn that he saw in Africa, and he described it as a gray horse with short, stumpy legs like tree trunks and a horn on its nose. And it's just like, but that's a fucking rhino. I mean, so it's, but I just love the way of people. Yeah. Also, there's like uh, um, the octopus. I can't remember what kind of octopus it is, but in Danish it's called the crying monk. I think is the translation. And when you see them, you can kind of see like it looks like a drowning monk. That's
Okay.
and it has a face and everything. So in the old days in Denmark, they thought it was a weird ghostly monk swimming around.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's,
So cryptozoology, can you say what cryptozoology is? This is like ancient or
it's like
animal stuff?
um I think uh, cryptozoology. It's like the study of hidden creatures, like uh, it's everything from chupacabra to Bigfoot, and
Yeah.
also, it's also down to specific things about uh, real animals living in places they're not supposed to live and stuff like that.
Yeah. John Marion also asks, are you in any of your drawings?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember if I ever put. I don't think I am. Sometimes I will put someone in there that I know that
Yeah.
fascinates me.
Yeah.
Um, but I actually don't remember if I ever put myself in one of my drawings.
You're not one of these men with the top hats.
No.
Um, Marianne also asks if you've read Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes, I
Yeah,
think I've read everything he did.
is that right? I feel like we've really homed in on the on a world of influences, and it's all making so much sense, from Edgar
Mm.
Allan Poe and Stephen King and Shirley Jackson and Edward Gorey and more. Yeah, um, how lucky we are that you were exposed to all of these influences. And I don't know, maybe we also have your sisters and your cousin to be, and the townspeople in your little
Mm.
town in Denmark to be thankful for. But what?
Also, because a lot of the inspirations like Edward Gorey and Stephen King and all those, like, came in my later years, but an influence that's been with me from I was a kid and still is, like, my hugest inspiration is Tove Jansson.
Oh
If you're
yeah,
familiar with her, she did the Moomin um,
um,
Moomin trolls. I don't know if what you call them actually.
Moment Shans? No.
Yeah, but it's these um I'll show you. I have,
Oh yeah, okay.
yeah.
Someone here will know Moomin. Yeah, Marta's saying Moomin. Uh,
Yes.
just maybe it's just Moomin. And yeah, several people are confirming yes, Moomins. Okay.
Yeah, she's a huge influence.
Uh-huh. Cool. Um, so Marta would also like to know, as a fellow horror fan, do you have a favorite horror film
Favorite one. Um, I mean,
or
it's
just
so
one? Yeah.
boring, but I think, I mean, The Shining and The Exorcist. I mean, I know it's, but yeah, I, I just love them, and I've just seen them like a million times, and yeah, especially The Shining.
And I'll piggyback on that. And since you listen to so much music and music's so important to you, uh, do you have any music recommendations right now? It doesn't have to be favorite or all-time favorite or anything like that. Just something that you would recommend right now.
I mean, right now I'm listening a lot to a Danish band called Gabestock. Um, but I think, and this is a guy that I'm also gonna be working with, called Teho Teado. He's
Okay.
an Italian musician. He's done a lot of uh, uh, soundtracks and music for theater, and he has a band with Blixa Bargeld, who was in The Bad Seeds, and the Birthday Party. So Teho Teado and Blixa Bargeld, that band is amazing, and everything with Teho Teado is just he's yeah, and he's really really it's just wonderful listening to his music and drawing.
Great. What I may ask you to email me those names
Yes.
afterwards, and we can share them out with everyone who's here tonight if in case anyone's interested.
Mm.
Um, well, John, I know it's just about 2 o'clock in the morning in Copenhagen,
Mm-hmm.
and we've gotten through everyone's questions. Thank you everyone for your questions and comments for John. Oh, it looks like maybe there's another one in here. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Marianne is thank you for an interesting interview and delightful meeting with the artist. I saw the show and enjoyed it very much. So I was thrilled to learn of this online since I live in New Jersey. Well, Marianne, I'm so happy to hear that and delighted that you made it up to Vermont and to our museum, and so glad you could be here tonight. And thank you for your questions. And thank you everyone who joined tonight. And I will say to everyone out there, if you haven't seen the exhibition in person and you find yourself in Vermont or even close to Vermont, I hope you'll come to the museum and see John's dream homes and sticky monsters, and maybe you'll create your own sticky monsters and leave them on the wall for us. The museum is open Wednesday through Sunday, 10 to 4. Admission is you pay whatever you wish to pay. And the exhibition is up for a good long time, up through November 2nd. And I'll just note that if creepy creatures and imaginary monsters are your thing, then you're in for even more of a treat than you might know, because in the gallery next to John's work, we have a really wonderful exhibition up called Glass-tastic, which is a collection of glass monsters that professional glass artists from around New England have created based on children's drawings of imaginary creatures. So these two exhibitions go together really nicely. Last thing I want to say is to everyone out there, if you enjoyed this event tonight and would consider making a donation to the museum to support this type of free programming, we would be so grateful for that. And that's something that you can do on our website, which is brattleboromuseum.org. John, thank you again. It's such a privilege to show your work, and it's been such a treat to spend this hour talking with you. I can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you. It's been super fun. I really enjoyed it.
Great. And who knows, maybe the stars will align and sometime before November 2nd, you'll make it over to the States and we'll be able
I
to
hope
see you
so.
here. That would be wonderful. We'd love that. Okay, John, have a good night.
Thank
And
you.
I'll talk to you soon. And good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.